I want to welcome everybody for day 6. We'll start off with Barbara Lang leading a panel on IEEE at COP, and we will have Saifur Rahman and Claudio Cañizares speaking. Barbara, take it away.
Great. Well, thank you for having us for this really important topic, and I'm delighted to be invited to moderate this conversation. What we'll do is we're going to start with a short presentation about IEEE's experience and history at the COP events. And then Saifur Rahman will present one of his presentations, and then we'll have a conversation. And by the end, I'm sure you'll have a great experience about what IEEE is doing at the COP events. So let's go to my slides. Here we are. There we go. So, and just confirming the slide is good, right? Somebody tell me. Yes. Okay. So this is our perspective of IEEE at COP30. And not sure that everybody understands what is COP, so I thought I'd do a little bit of an introduction. It is a UN organization, and it actually comes under an organization called the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. And COP is the name of the actual conference of parties. So it's the event where the nations come together to talk about climate change and all of the changes that they want to achieve and set the targets and so on. It first came about in 1995, so it hasn't been around all that long. And you would notice that it's COP 30, so it's the 30th year or the 30th occasion of this event. And it's, as I say, where the governments can negotiate their commitments. One of the major outcomes of COP have been these protocols and agreements that many hear about in the general press. So the Kyoto Protocol in 1997, which laid the foundation for the Paris Agreement, which many people are familiar with or have at least heard about, which was agreed in 2015. What we will hear today from Saifur and Claudio is it's a very busy time. It's several weeks of content with very specific deliverables in mind, many sessions, many pavilions, many side events, and IEEE has been growing its presence across the last several years. So it began in 2021, right after COVID. The first COP after COVID was held in Glasgow in 2021, and I'll talk a little bit about what IEEE's experiences was there. In 2022, it was in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. In 2023, it was in Dubai in the UAE. In 2024, it was in Baku, Azerbaijan. And last year, or this year, sorry, in 2025, just concluded was in Belém in Brazil. So you can see that it goes around the world, and there's a whole process by which countries apply and get approval for participating and being a host country. And there are requirements for the host country as they host the event and all of the negotiations and things that required of it. So, but these are the events where IEEE had a presence. So in Glasgow in 2021, there were two people that went on our behalf, Bruno Meyer and Tariq Durrani, and they participated in one event highlighting the important role of engineers and playing, delivering practical solutions that address climate change. And that sort of is the theme across all of the COP events. IEEE's role is really to highlight and elevate the notion that engineers are there to help in providing those technology solutions. It doesn't help if policymakers make decisions about the energy transition or EV vehicles, and there's no infrastructure, there's no system set up to enable that to happen. So the engineers are critical in this role. And that you'll see that that's the theme that has come across over many of these COP events. So in 2021, we were in Glasgow with one event. Oh, I forgot I had some visuals. In 2022, we had a slightly larger contingent. I should also say that the number of people who attend is also regulated, shall we say. So it's not like the IEEE could send hundreds of people. It is very much regulated about how large the delegation may be, and it hovers around over the years between 2 and 5, let's say. So in 2022, we had 3 representatives. A lot of the events were that where IEEE was participating was around reducing carbon emissions for this energy transition, and you can begin to see the relationship that IEEE is beginning to foster at these events. In 2022, the WFEO, the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, as well as our colleagues in Canada and the International Renewable Energy Agency, or IRENA. So you'll begin to see that is kind of crucial to IEEE's participation in these COP events. And now you see in Dubai, there's still only 3 delegates going, but you can see the sessions are starting to increase. And part of that is IEEE being invited to participate in other sessions, but also IEEE convening different meetings and side events. So here, most of the talks were around renewable energy, the ICT sector, as well as empowering youth. You'll notice that the young professionals, IEEE young professionals, are quite active within this community. In UN activities in general, but also at the COP events. So here in Dubai, there were events that IEEE participated in with the IET from the UK, the Green Digital Action, which is an initiative by the ITU, even the Rotary International, which is an organization we don't often see a connection, but IEEE participated in an event with them. IEEE Young Professionals held several events for youth focus, and then with the WMO as well. And here we had 6 events. I'm not going to, I thought I'd be clever and make that rotate as many times as the events, but we might all get dizzy, so I'll move on. And that leads us to Baku, Azerbaijan last year. Here, it also, the way the event runs also has a lot to do with where it's being held. And the meeting last year seemed to take a lot longer to develop from an organizational point of view. And so, even so, Saifur was very busy attending many events, more than 5 events. And you can see the various topics that he covered around clean energy, again, enabling and empowering the future with youth development, young professionals engagement, again, the digital action, Green Digital Action, which is that ITU group, and then a pledge for skills development. So a lot of variety, but all the things that IEEE cares about. And that now leads to, whoops, here we go again. That now leads to Brazil. And the delegation included Saifur and Claudio Cañizares this time, as well as Felipe Torres, who is a local section leader in Brazil. And here you can see the number of organizations. It's more than I could put on one slide. So you'll see a couple of more of them coming up in a moment. But a high-level roundtable around the green digital future with the ITU. You'll notice that we've developed quite a strong relationship with the ITU. IEEE has had a long relationship with ITU on the standard side, but now we're developing other relationships in other parts of IEEE. Priorities for decarbonization was organized by the UN itself, and Saifur was covered in actually the UN's daily newsletter that comes out as a result of the COP events, and clean energy solutions with the youth as well, and a couple of other events. that I think Saifur is going to talk about in specific around the strengthening the capacity of building for the energy transition, clean tech solutions, and engineering for climate resilience, talking about water planning, energy transition, and biodiversity. Again, not always things that we think about when we think about IEEE, but obviously engineering has a role to play in all of these things. So before we send it over to Saifur for his presentation, I did want to share with you a few images. So this is mentioned that newsletter. There you can see Saifur presenting at the SDG Pavilion. So the UN SDG puts out a daily newsletter, and this happened to be on Tuesday the 11th, and Saifur was highlighted in one of the stories in that newsletter that day, which was nice to see. And here's a couple of images from a couple of the different sessions that Saifur and Claudio attended. Apologies for the, I see this one image is not very sharp at all. That is my bad. Here's another presentation that Saifur gave. And finally, the Global Energy Interconnection Development and Cooperation Organization, where Saifur spoke. And here he is sitting next to, and he can explain it much better than I, Princess Anze Jima, who is the co-chair of the Paris Committee on Capacity Building, which is a pretty influential group, and it allowed Saifur to develop a relationship with her, and that's another relationship that helps us to advance IEEE's visibility in this audience. If you want to learn more about what IEEE did at COP, we do have an area on the Sustainable Climate website, and you can check out that URL, and you'll see a lot of these images as well as some stories, and we'll be adding to that as well as a result of this conversation. One of the things that it leads to is the future for IEEE in other domains. And I think here's where I'll stop, and we'll catch up with this one after Saifur has his presentation. So with that, I'm going to hand it over. I'm going to stop sharing and hand it over to you, Saifur, for you to give your presentation.
Thank you, Barbara, for a nice introduction. Let me share my screen now and move on with this presentation as much as I can. Hold on a second. Can you see my full screen now, Barbara?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So this is where I start. I went there as part of a delegation, 3 people, myself, Claudio, Cañizares, and Felipe Torres from Brazil. We wanted to involve our local leaders as well, which went very well, and he was with us on multiple events. And as we go forward, you'll see how, hold on a second, the older version. This is something that Barbara just showed, so this is fine. I'm not going to repeat this anymore. But you have to realize this is an event where 30,000 people come from 190 some countries, and they have to be put into an arena somehow, which is a big challenge for policing, I guess. So we had to walk like for 20 minutes, leaving our bus or car and go to the main arena, which was interesting. Once I get there, this was my first event. High-level roundtable, leadership and action towards green digital future. I was one of the 20 speakers in that, and mainly ambassadors, ministers. The Minister of Communication Brazil was present. ITU number 2 was present. That's where we could show that ITU is the host, but IEEE has a place at the table. That's very important for us. And my objective has been always in these events, we want to showcase outside our comfort zone what IEEE can do. We go to UN emissions, we go to all these events globally, so that our name IEEE becoming a familiar term in the group of people who are bankers, insurance people, NGOs, government ministers and the like. We're the first technical association or organization ever to go to COP and talk about engineering. With our prodding, this time in Brazil, the host government had set up a date or a day, technology day, which is the day I spoke on the first day, which is November 10th. So, and I talked about many things. One was the decarbonization. Second event for me, next day, 11 November, where Barbara showed this. We had myself, gentleman blue shirt next to my left is from WIPO. Then this is the person, director of the Standards Bureau at ITU, and a staff person of ITU. We all spoke at the SDG Pavilion to showcase what we can do to help decarbonize in both industrialized and emerging economies globally. And the focus was electric power sector. That's where I come from. And electric power sector is responsible for a third of the global CO2 emissions every year, even today. So this is an important sector to focus on. And I focused on how we can help reduce carbon dioxide emissions in the electric power sector. And this is my 7-point proposal that I put forward. It is not new. I have done that in Egypt and Dubai before, where we want to show where every country, rich and poor, can do this to some extent. They can then feel good that they are helping to reduce carbon emissions in the global space. First is use less electricity and more energy efficiency so that you will have low cost, low hanging fruit to reduce carbon emissions. Second is use low carbon fossil fuel power plants. We cannot shut down more than 1,000 coal plants in operation globally today. It's not possible. So we are not saying that. We are realistic, we are practical. We said if you have to use fossil power plant, use low carbon, like maybe natural gas, as opposed to coal as much as possible. And use hydrogen and other storage technologies. Hydrogen we know is fine. What do you mean by other storage technologies? We have to somehow capture the CO2 that we generate by burning coal. Thing called carbon capture and storage. You capture the CO2 from air and store it. That's how you are not adding to the CO2 regime in the atmosphere by using coal in power stations. Most important, promote more renewables, solar, wind, hydro, and the like. That's happening globally now. I said, except some nuclear. I didn't say promote because of Chernobyl accident, Fukushima accident 2011, TMI in the US 40 years ago. Nuclear has a bad press, but there are now new technologies, small reactors, which are safer and cheaper to build. That could be one way to provide electricity without any carbon emissions. Number 6, promote cross-border power transfer, cross-border. Happening today, the US is buying hydropower from Quebec into New York State. As a result, US, New York State did not have to build a coal-fired power plant to serve the local needs. Example. France selling nuclear power to Portugal, Spain, and the like. China selling hydropower to Vietnam. Happening. Should look at that more so that we know when you need more power, don't right away rush to build a coal plant in your country. See other options. And finally, electrification. Right now in the UK, France, Germany, even the US, we burn oil for home heating. Very common in UK right now. So electrification means you avoid burning oil or gas in your home for heating, use heat pumps. And Barbara, our colleague just now, has done that recently. She can talk more later on if you like. That's how I am proposing cutting down on CO2 emissions in the electric power sector. Barbara just showed this. We were invited to speak at a session organized by International Youth Nuclear Congress, fourth day of the event. And I was there with Claudio. Lady from my right is a banker from Africa, and the other lady to my left is one organizers of this Clean Energy Future event. My point is, we are talking to people, not engineers, other people. So they know how engineers can be of value to what the world is facing today. When I talk to these guys, I say, you guys, banker, insurance, government people, NGOs talk about problem, problem, problem. We engineers talk about solutions. That's my example here going forward. Next was very important. This is a session organized by Global Energy Interconnection Development Cooperation Organization, GUIDECO, Paris Committee on Capacity Building, UNFCCC, you heard that from Barbara, November 15th. I was a keynote speaker, in fact. Again, session is organized by agencies, UN, and we are a major speaker over there. Next is just a group photo after everybody spoke. He's a person from China, from this guy from Canada, myself, others from China, and UK, and so on and so forth. Again, is if you look at the top, strengthening capacity building for energy transition. We cannot transition without people to do the transition. Very important to build skilled people to do the job going forward. This is the next one. We were given a session by INCC, International Youth Nuclear Congress, to have a session of our own, IEEE session. We organized, to my right is Felipe Torres from Brazil, section chair, myself. Then Bruno, I'll hear from him. And then next is gentleman from French phone company, Orange. So we all talk about telephone sector, power sector, energy transition, and what Brazil has been doing in this field over the last several years. That was on the 17th. On the 18th, I was part of a session organized by us and the World Federation of Engineering Organizations. Title was Engineering for Climate Resilience, Energy Transition, and Biodiversity Gain. Very important. We don't talk about biodiversity. We talk about climate change, even FCC. Another set of meetings like climate change COP happening globally called biodiversity protection programs. So I had done some work in China where we are showing we can use energy transition using diesel engine now for providing power to remote areas, remove the diesel engine and use solar power so that the local animals and vegetation are not disturbed. So I gave a talk there, mentioned this in the biodiversity protection. The reason I'm saying this, we don't talk about this much. We electrical engineers are a force in biodiversity protection. I'm going to show you a video just now. You'll see the video of what has happened in China. The reason I show this, this is a forest where snub-nosed monkeys live. They're protected like other protected species. So they had people living there. So they use diesel engines for their electrical demand, like heating, cooking, labs, work, and all that. The noise and sound, these species, snub-nosed monkeys, were moving up the mountain because they couldn't tolerate this noise and smell. As you go high up in the mountains, you have less vegetation. They're less to eat. They either dying, these people, because they're not to eat. So the local power company decided to remove all the diesel engines, use solar electricity to serve the load they have. They have a 200 kilowatt solar project in that area. Once that happened, next 2 years or so, monkeys are coming back. I'll see videos in a few seconds. My point is how engineers, power engineers, electrical engineers can help protecting biodiversity by looking at the challenges that we are not thinking about all the time. Who cares about snub-nosed monkeys? They're protected. So this is this example of where we play a role. Let me go and show you this video. On the top is a YouTube video. You just go to YouTube, type snub-nosed monkey, clean energy. You'll see this. Let me play this for about 8 minutes. Look at it carefully. Good sound, good pictures, and monkeys are our friends in this.
Welcome to China's mystical and beautiful Shennongjia Forest, golden snub-nosed monkeys territory. Once in danger, their destiny changed. What's the story behind? 'These little fellows are so cute.
Hey, Rebecca, good to see you.
Hello,
Long time.
Professor Rahman.
Very nice
How
place.
do you feel here?
Beautiful, fresh air. I like it here. And I'm very happy to see how these monkeys can make this place so nice and lovely.
Yes.
And these animals like my friends. Look at me, and they're saying, "Who are you?" So I'm your friend from America.
Yes.
Last year, Shennongjia Clean Energy Project for monkey bird protection was included in the list of energy transition biodiversity at the UN Convention on Biodiversity COP16 and Global Energy Interconnection Development Cooperation Organization played a role in preparing the list.
Let's find out how it works.
Let's go and look.
神农架是华中地区重要的生态屏障，是全球14个具有国际意义的生物多样性科研与保护的关键地区之一。神农架金丝猴是国家一级保护动物，它与大熊猫称为中国双宝。
So they were in danger. What did you do to protect them?
这里是全球首个设立野外金丝猴跟踪监测的基地。我们现在主要是进行金丝猴的科研与保护工作，内容是金丝猴的习性、动作、声音各个方面。通过我们工作人员这些年的努力与付出，金丝猴的数量由原来的500多只扩大到现在的1600多只。它的栖息范围从海拔的2000米到现在的1500米，由原来的人进猴退到现在的猴进人退。欢迎你们到基地里看一看。
Let's go then.
Very good.
这就是大龙潭研究基地。
So what's so special about this space?
为了减少基地对环境的影响我们工业公司在这里建设了零碳微电网，提供了清洁电力。
I'm talking about microgrid here. That means you got solar energy, storage, and load in the same area. They're very close. They're not mixing anything up, and they're very efficient.
是的，并且基地用的是木材和煤炭。零碳微电网建设以后，大大提升了基地的用电水平，也提高了基地人员的生活品质，对基地做了有力的保障。经过电采暖、电储存的改造以后解决了冬季用水的问题和高海拔取暖的问题。同时有了安全的电力保障，我们在这里增加了不少设备，比如说金丝猴的繁育仪器、环境监测仪，为金丝猴的研究发展提供了坚强的电力保障。
For these days, to do a very high quality experiment, we need precision measurements. For that, we need high quality power and reliable power so that we don't stop the experiment.
That's why this project is truly unique. No wonder it was listed.
What's happening today, we have two things, energy transition and biodiversity. And GuideCo put the example, they can put the two together. We are showing the world how a transition of energy helping biodiversity for us to be able to achieve very good results. I'm hoping this model will be visible globally. Other countries, other agencies can make it their model to go forward.
像这样的项目我们做了很多，国家电网还专门设立了绿电方舟公益项目来支撑我们这项工作。 我们公司在农村和旅游景区大力推广清洁用能，在婺源的大酒湖，我们建成了全景景区。
So what's a fully electric scenic area?
眼见为实，我们就去看一下吧。全景景区就是我们把景区里的交通、餐饮、办公、照明全部改成了清洁电力。我们还在这里安装了分布式光伏，景区的用电可以自给自足，每年减少碳排放540吨。
Great idea.
Yes. Let's see it in real life.
We'll go and see. Let me try this. Let's try this.
Okay.
Just charging.
Whoa, it's working.
Sun helping me charge my phone.
Oh my God, it's so warm.
This is the high-tech application of sunshine's value to humanity, making life better and more enjoyable, convenient for everybody. Rebecca, this is a solar tent with a cap, and these black things you see,
Yes.
these are solar panels. This is made of cloth. Sunshine falls on this cloth, black thing, and makes electricity, which goes in here until lights on. Let's see how this solar tent is giving electricity to charge my phone. Watch this. It's working.
Oh yes,
Yes,
it's
yes.
charging.
It's showing that sunshine can be used many different ways.
Exactly.
Not only for lights, but for charging phones.
Yeah. Professor, this visit has been so enlightening.
Excellent. Chenggongjia's title as the best nature reserve is well deserved. Here we see integrating two things, energy transition and biodiversity preservation.
China's model for ecological protection has gained international recognition, and there are several examples, like the net zero carbon bird watching hat in Xiangshan, Zhejiang, and live bird nest in Qinghai, and also the solar wind energy storage bases in Changbei. The Shenangjia Monkeys Protection Project shows that energy transition and biodiversity protection can go hand by hand.
I see here China's best practices, and the roadmap is a global example for other countries to follow to put together climate sustainability, energy transition, and biodiversity conservation. I hope this example becomes visible globally, so other countries can take this as a roadmap to do their own program to show how we can bring harmony between man and nature. Let's work together for Earth's future. Well, thank you for your patience. I'm done, Barbara.
Well, that was just terrific, Saifur. I had no idea that when you said you were off in China, what you were doing. So that's really wonderful. I think we can also invite Claudio to join us. Yes. So, wow, what a great experience, COP. And so let's have a little bit of a conversation. We have a few questions that we discussed together, but I wanted to start out by asking maybe Claudio, since this was your first experience as a newbie, what was your impression? How I think a lot of people I talk to often wonder, like, how do you get to Belém, Brazil, for example? And tell us a little bit about your experience and your first impressions.
Thanks, Barbara, and thanks for that very interesting presentation, Saifur. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Particularly highlighting the impact that the technologies have on biodiversity, on the future of the world, climate change in particular. Now, my experience going to Belém was quite interesting. First of all, maybe Saifur didn't mention this, but it was really a challenge to find housing. And one important thing that Saifur sort of briefly mentioned is that IEEE has contacts everywhere in the world. I mean, it's everywhere in the world, literally. And that made a big difference in this case, allowed the IEEE and through Saifur's good offices to secure housing, because that was a major challenge for this particular event. And in fact, the housing was very, very nicely arranged and very comfortable. So thanks, Saifur. And thanks to Felipe, who was involved in all of it. So that made a difference. So in terms of getting to Belém, it was a bit of a challenge because it's not a particularly a location well known throughout the world. So there are flights, everything, but it presented a bit of a challenge besides the housing that was I already mentioned. But it worked out very well. It's my first, as you mentioned, Barbara, it's my first COP. So I didn't know what I was getting into or what was all about. So so it was, first of all, was overwhelming. As Saifur mentioned, thousands of people, right, are participating on this. The main focus of COP is government agencies, policy discussions. And and then the rest of the world looking in. So what COP changed in the sense that now they invited everybody to participate with limited participation because, as I mentioned, you cannot just show up and be part of this. So that presented some challenges. And my impression was, well, this is, as Saifur mentioned, first of all, it's huge. Kilometers of displays and pavilions and everything happening at the same time. You cannot just show up to the policy discussions, but you can participate with everybody else in what everybody else is doing, right? The country pavilions were particularly important. You went as well. Lots of things happening at the same time. So that's a challenge. NGOs, industry, everybody is so involved. And that was quite a unique experience, yeah. And I think it's relevant for IEEE moving forward. And something I wanted to highlight, particularly this COP, which was focused on technology deployment. Let's talk more deployment and how to finance this, which is quite relevant to by the way, that you mentioned already, what the event that IEEE and ITUs are organizing in a couple of weeks at Geneva. Yeah. So hopefully that gives you an idea of my impression. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And Saifur, since you've been to a few COPs right now over the years now, how is this different or the same than other events? I understand that I've never been to one myself, so I only I live vicariously through others. But what was different or more impressive about this COP than the others?
Thank you, Barbara. Number one, it is a remote area that's Claudio just mentioned. I've been to 3 other COPs, all city center area, developed area, like Dubai, Baku. This was done on purpose by the government of Brazil to highlight lives of Brazilian people who are indigenous, to live in the forest. So I had a chance to go in a boat inside the Amazon area. The Sunday afternoon was free. So there you see water miles around, nothing else, and a lot of trees, nothing else. I didn't see any alligator, by the way. I saw one dolphin. It's interesting. Oh, yeah. So point is, other than that, surprised me the most, how nice people are and how cheap Uber is. I'll explain that in a minute. I get off the plane at the airport, and I have no idea Portuguese language. Sign language, I want to go this way, this, that, and they could manage. Number 4, 5. Then the government there provided bus service from parts of the town to the convention center. Sunday morning, first day, we took the bus, we waited like half an hour, got there, so hot, like 95 degrees and humid, totally sweating. So once I'm coming back, my guide said, look, don't go to the bus. Uber is cheap, like $2-3 for the ride from the arena to our apartment block. So we did that very often. And Uber is very easily available because people are moving around all the time. But my impression is because of the area where this was held, Belém, they call it the mouth of the Amazon. Amazon starts there. A lot of rain. Other thing that surprised me was how quickly rain comes without any notice. It get totally wet, but this is life. So point is indigenous people, climate, local population, and moving around town was very, very easy and enjoyable. So I would learn some Portuguese, Claudia, before I go there next time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the language of the UN is well, it has a variety of languages, official languages, but English is as long as you can navigate some English, you're well, with all the AI now, you can use all sorts of AI tools to speak any language you like, right? Well, let's talk a little bit about. You mentioned that the COP event is very much around policy. We know that governments come together, they negotiate, they often will talk about their nationally defined contributions, which is how they're going to play a role in achieving this net zero target. So it's not a traditional place for IEEE. We've mentioned that already. How do you see IEEE engaging from a technical expertise contribution in this environment, and how are those strengths reviewed or received, sorry, by these policymakers and other global partners, especially as we've increased our presence at COP events?
Let me try then, Claudio can join in. Our strength is our infrastructure. We have members in 190 countries and sections in 140 countries, sections. Brazil has 5 sections, by the way. So this is, people don't know that. When I spoke at this the summit on the first day, on Monday, the 10th, I was asked to talk about what can be done technologically to support climate protection. I quoted the COP30 president, Ambassador Andre Kohi. He said, we have been talking about problem, talking about our missions, our goals, our targets, many years. Now let's talk about solutions. Implement those things. No new targets. Implement what you got. I said that is us. We have the technology, manpower, infrastructure to address the issue of challenges through technology. They loved it. The minister was clapping when I said that. Point is, we never been to that level of exposure, IEEE. Could be conferences, fine, but that's us. My mission as president has been, let's look out and tell the world what we are, not tell our 500,000 members what we are. They know us. I need to talk to other people outside. That really helped. And the other thing is, I play this very much that we are global. We have people, they live in the same city as the policymakers. We have a smart city program where people can be showing their policymakers what can be done by using technology, healthcare, and education. That's getting very much attention these days.
Yeah, Claudio,
Yeah,
what do you think?
just to add to what Saifur said, I think that the fact that we were present there and the fact that we were invited, Saifur has lots of contacts and that has made a big difference, and we must acknowledge that that we are now collaborating closely with the UN, this is one of the major events for the UN. So this is a very important interaction that I think moving forward, IEEE becomes more relevant, particularly in this context of technology deployment, right, which was the focus of this particular COP. So from that point of view, I think that IEEE has a role to play, especially with collaborations with the UN. I believe that would allow, right, and hopefully country collaboration as well, allow IEEE to participate and become more relevant in all of these discussions. And I think as governments, move forward with the NDCs and the technology deployment, they start seeing us IEEE as a provider of solutions, right? And in that context, become more relevant to all these discussions. Hopefully, as this evolves, because this takes time. I mean, it's not that you just show up and here we are. And actually, the history that you show of IEEE participation on COP, shows the growth, right? Shows that more invitations, more participation. And moving forward, I think that as you mentioned, these white Ps are very important. One of the things that struck me of the of the blue zone, which is where all these non-government participants, observers are involved. There's a lot of young people. It's very attractive and generates a lot of energy. And in fact, there were a lot of side parties happening on the side. So all of that energy, I think, is important, and I think it should be harnessed by the IEEE in terms of who gets involved in these events, right? Who have tried to, obviously, within the context of how many placements we have. So that's a challenge, but that's something that we need to consider and moving forward. So I think that YPs are very important in all of these, particularly this particular event. Yeah.
But one more thing, Barbara, my
Sure.
observation. When I walk in the arena, people coming in, going, I see more women than men for the first time, more women than men. And the reason for this, women are more sensitive to issues of environmental protection than men. That's what very rewarding for me, that people are showing up. I went to many country pavilions, and many of them had women leaders talking about what their country is doing in protecting the environment in their space. They're very rewarding. We don't see that in IEEE. IEEE members, I don't know, 20% female. So this is more than 50% female attendance at COP30.
I think what you're also articulating is that because IEEE is such a profoundly influential and large organization, and we all live in it, we think everybody knows. And you walk outside at an event like that, and do you know the IEEE? What is the IEEE, right? So you really have to explain it again. And once they learn it, I know that they are. Often I've had the experience where people are surprised by the size and scope and depth and breadth of what IEEE offers, which is a perfect segue to the next question or conversation topic. And I wanted to so having built these relationships now over the last several years leads to this symposium that we will be actually next week, or we'll be in Geneva with the ITU. So maybe Saifur, I'll start with you. How did the relationships that you develop over these years lead to the symposium, and maybe talk a little bit about what your aim is with the symposium as well?
I met ITU people by accident in Dubai COP28. I was going there. They knew I was at the ITU president at the time. And they, as you said before, we have relationship with ITU through the sections, through standards, nothing else. So they said, one of the leaders came by and said, can you talk about what we do, IEEE-wise standards? Fine. I talked to their standards session, in fact. Then I realized to build stronger relationship with them. By the way, when we did the COP is so big, the outcome is very limited. So I told people I knew in Dubai, IEEE hold an event where it is much smaller, technology focused, and involving people who are engineers, technologists, policymakers, and finance. Idea in my brown. Then the question, where do you hold this meeting? There's 23 I'm talking about. I talked to many people, Dubai included. Then ITU said, well, Geneva has the highest event presence after New York. Highest presence. A lot of missions are there. And why don't you think of doing this? It took me probably 10 months to get the organization, whom to invite, where to hold it, who will pay for the food, all this kind of stuff. So that was the first event, December 24. Went very well. I invited the ITU Secretary General, Doreen Bogdan. She's by the IEEE member, by the way, for some reason, not an engineer. So she liked it. So we had an event there. I gave her an IEEE medal, by the way, as a president can give medals. And that was the cementing relationship between ITU and IEEE. Now we are co-organizers. We go to meetings together. ITU invites us to speak at their events. We invited them to talk about our session, like the ITU standards guy came at the Nuclear Congress session. So that is building up. My point that Claudio said it takes time, relationships, and you have to nurture it. You have to give and take. And that's something more diplomatic than engineering, but that's how we are where we are.
Yeah, yeah. And Claudio, you talk a lot about the youth and the future. What would you tell a young IEEE member about the importance of COP and IEEE's visibility in that domain as a solution provider? How would you talk to a young professional and to get them excited about IEEE's role in that space?
Well, interestingly enough, I think that we are, I mean, the relationships that YPs have already with the UN and invited to participate in multiple events and have a lot of contacts is already very significant. So I think that it's important for this group of young professionals to get involved in COP. They are ready, or it was somewhat limited challenges here in terms of logistics, but I think it's important to get them involved and be part of all of this. I think YPs are showing what IEEE can do. And they're invited and they are part of all of these discussions. And through these relationships that Saifur has started and evolved and mentioned regarding the ISAC event in a couple of weeks, for example, which was fairly much convened by Saifur in the first try. The second try, we are much more people involved, much more attention to we know who these people are, and we are evolving that relationship. I mean, it takes time. It won't happen overnight, but I think we are investing on that. And YPs are very much involved in this. They are very energetic. They want to be part of this. And I think we need to take advantage of that and get all of these things together. So for IEEE to benefit and become a relevant part of all these discussions, which at the end of the day are policy discussions. So the important thing for IEEE is say, here we are, we can provide solutions, we can be part of the conversation. So I think that's where all of this is going.
Yeah.
It won't happen overnight.
We have 6 minutes left. Maybe you should ask for audience participation.
I was just about, to say exactly that. If there are any audience questions,
comments,
I think people can put them in the chat. I don't see any at the moment, but we do have a few more minutes. So if anybody wishes to, let's see, I see questions. Let's see, this is coming from Ron Swenson, reading slide number 7, Dr. Rahman's presentation. I see some suggestions which would not qualify as viable under either engineering or physics due diligence. What is the process by which IEEE determines climate policy and empowers its representatives to speak on behalf of its members?
Let me address that. Part of our society dealing with climate change, climate resilience activities, we have what you call specialist database. They are not all IEEE members even, specialists. Could be engineers, could be banker, could be industry people, could be even lawyers. So if, Ron, you want to know more about it, you can write to me or to Barbara, and I'll tell you how somebody can apply to become a representative of us on behalf of our members. This is a very good question. This is something we take very seriously. We have right now 44 such specialists. We can raise that number to a much higher number. Why I'm saying this, we get questions from policymakers once in a while from Zimbabwe. Do you have somebody who can talk to, who can talk about the benefit of LED lighting over other kind of lighting? So you can have this person get in touch with them and have a one-to-one conversation, Zoom usually, and get that question answered. Thank you.
Yeah. And
So
Charles,
I just wanted to one
go
quick
ahead.
the comment that Charles makes, which is there is a policy group within IEEE. So on IEEE USA, IEEE Global Policy Group are involved in developing these climate policies. So it's not individuals themselves, but groups and committees that look at all of these issues and present with approval of the board, present climate policy statements and solutions. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and in fact, we don't have an official climate policy statement at the moment for the broad IEEE, but we do have an organization. I didn't want to forget to remind our audience, the Technology for Sustainable Climate Matrix organization. So maybe I'll start with you, Claudio, this time to briefly describe to our audience what that organization is, and we can probably end on that question at the discussion.
Certainly, thank you for that prompt, Barbara. I think that this is very important. This is something new for the IEEE in terms of how it's organized and the objectives, what it's trying to be accomplished. It's focused on technologies. We are not discussing policy. I mean, there has an impact on policy directly, but and for that there are committees within the IEEE that take care of those issues. But we focus on the technology issues, and the objective is to basically have one voice for the IEEE in this step. Everybody, practically every society, council, committee, in some way or form is working in these aspects, different aspects of technology for sustainable climate. And I think this organization is trying to basically promote that work, collaborations, very important, and also create mechanisms to promote these activities within the IEEE and outside the IEEE. And this is what we're talking about. COP30, BISAC, etc. There are events and are initiatives that are coming from this group of colleagues representing, where we have representatives from all major boards and members from different societies and councils that are part of all of these initiatives. So that gives you briefly an idea. And I noticed that Julie just posted a website where you can learn more about what this committee is about and what can be done. And please, if you are interested in joining us, let us know, and we'll certainly find a way of getting you involved. Thank you.
Yeah. Super. So we do have just 2 minutes left. I always like to end on some words of inspiration. And so maybe start with you, Saifur, how you envision this whole experience with COP and the future of IEEE as it relates to finding technology solutions for climate change issues.
As I talk to people who are not IEEE members like COP30, I can see in their eyes a curiosity to how to solve this problem. These young girls, some are early 20s, are there, but they are very worried about the world's future under changing climate, very worried. They want to do something themselves, asking, what can I do? I said, you can do things yourself to reduce energy consumption. Like, don't keep the water running in the bathroom when you're brushing your teeth. Turn the water off when you're brushing your teeth. Very simple thing. Because the water that you're using has gone through 3 processes. You pump the water up, filter it, and pump it back to your house. You use power in 3 different ways. If you use half the water, you use half the electricity. They wake up. So the simple things talk about them, they can do themselves. Other thing is how to do as a community, like school kids. Learn to turn the lights off when you leave the room. Do not keep your temperature like 72 in winter time. Keep it 68. Or summertime, air conditioning in this country, we put like, I don't know, centigrade in 2018. In India is 23. So this is a simple thing to do, but one day connect the two. Your daily activities, how it is creating more carbon dioxide. To me, my currency is not dollar, currency is carbon dioxide. Minimize CO2, then I'm doing something useful.
Yeah. And Claudio, last word from you.
Yeah, but thanks for that opportunity, because part of my, when I talk about energy transition, I also talk about our personal commitment and what we can do. If we have the means and the resources, we should be fully committed. I personally, for example, have solar panels, heat pumps. I move away from gas, electric vehicles. I know that Charlie's doing exactly the same thing. Barbara, you are doing the same thing as well. So we need to be, personally involved. If we have the means, we should, walk the walk and talk the talk. And I think that's important in all of these as a personal commitment to all of this. Besides what IEEE is doing, what governments are doing, we have a role to play individually.
Yeah, super. And we're a lot of people, and little changes can add up. So that's wonderful to close our session. So thanks so much, Saifur, Rahman, and Claudio Cañizares, for joining us today and telling us about your COP experience and all the great work helping to solve those issues of climate change. So thanks so much. And thanks to Charlie for having us. I think we have finished our session.
Thank you, everybody. Take
Thank
care.
you.